It's our time. It's our time.
Hey there, I'm Shub from North of Normal, and this is One Song, One Story. The concept is simple. Each guest brings a song, and together we explore what it means to them, the memories it holds, the feelings it unlocks, the story it tells about who they are. Today, I'm joined by Deb Van Schaack, calling in from Bisbee, Arizona. This is a conversation about kindness, courage, and what happens when you take one step, and then another, until your life looks completely different. Deb shares the song that became a quiet companion during a 2,000-mile walk across the Appalachian Trail, and how music can show up at exactly the moment you need it, reminding you that nothing is fixed and everything is still possible. Hope you enjoy. Welcome to the One Song, One Story podcast, Deb Van Schaack. How are you, Deb?
Thank you. I'm good. How are you today?
I'm very well, excited to speak with you. And whereabouts in the world are you today?
We live in Bisbee, Arizona, which is a small former copper mining town about a mile high in the mountains in southeastern Arizona. We're about 10 miles from the Mexico border.
Okay.
And the weather is beautiful here today, so no complaints.
Fantastic. That's what we like to hear. Not so nice here.
I had a feeling, yeah.
Yeah, it's cold. It's a bit rainy. But, people say there's no such thing as bad weather. There's only bad clothing choices.
That's true. That's very true.
And you probably know this more than most, given some of your hobbies.
Yes.
So if your day today was a song, what would the title of that song be?
It's interesting. I'd listened to a couple of your podcasts and I was hoping that you would ask me that very question. This is a busy time of year, but I've been thinking a lot lately about, I just went for a walk this morning and was thinking about it more. I've been thinking a lot more lately about kindness, and I sing with a group of 4 other women, and we play ukulele together. We call ourselves the Ukuleles, and we had a little performance yesterday at an assisted living home. And we sang there, and afterwards we all went out for a pizza and a drink. And we talked about just how rough it is in the world right now, all that's going on. And I won't get into politics, but just our frustration with what's happening in the US and beyond, and how there's so much divisiveness. And I just keep thinking about kindness. And the conversation came back around to what can we do within our own community to be kind to each other and to be nice to each other. So there's a song that I just heard recently for the first time called We All Need More Kindness in This World by a man named Guy Davis. And it's just a great song with just some simple words, but I think it's true. So I think that would be what I'd like to highlight today. Yeah, it would be that.
Okay. Beautiful message. And we always drop the song choice alongside the episode. So I will probably drop that in as well.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, and the ukuleles sounds incredible. So do you all play ukulele and sing, or how does it work?
We do. There's just 5 of us, and we're a very loosely held together group. We practice when we're all in town, and we just have fun. We laugh as much as we play music, so it's really fun.
Yeah.
It's been good.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And there's pizza afterwards.
Well, there was yesterday, so that was nice. After our little gig at the assisted living facility, so that was fun.
I bet you brightened up some people's days. So that sounds pretty cool.
I hope so. Yeah.
Yeah. One other thing I like to do that you may have heard on other podcasts is a song that connects us. Now, this is a little trickier for you because we've never actually met before. I know you through someone I'd call a friend now that I met recently who's been on the podcast called Jim for Fire. And I know you're a friend of Jim's, but you did kindly send me a link to a radio interview you did about an amazing inspirational achievement that I'm sure we'll go on to talk about. And it was an incredibly long, I don't know whether you'd call it a walk or a hike or a mission or whatever, but the song that came to mind, I don't know whether you know this because I don't know whether it's a bit of an English cult classic. It's by a Scottish band called the Proclaimers. And it's called I'm Gonna Be. And the song is, and I will walk 500
I love
miles.
that song.
Yeah,
that's a great one. And there have been so many good versions of that song too. That's a great one. Yeah, that's a favorite. Yeah, I like that.
So, I
Yeah.
mean, that for me is Deb's song because, yeah, as I said, we'll go on to talk about it, but yeah, I think he probably walked a lot more than 500 miles actually. So, no, it's a tough ask. Is there a song that connects us at all in the very short time that we've known each other?
Ooh, I'll have to think about that one. I'm not prepared with that one. I got to think about it a little bit. It might
Yeah,
come to me after the podcast.
fantastic.
Yeah.
I look forward to it. And I mentioned the walk there. I guess I guess a walk like that doesn't come without previous walks, and I'm sure
hmm
we'll get into it. But where did your passion for walking come from? And I guess just to set the scene, would you mind telling the listeners about the walk across the Appalachian Hills? Because that was the subject of the calling that I listened to.
Sure. So trying to keep this a little bit brief because it's part of a longer story, but I grew up on right on one of the Great Lakes in New York State, Lake Ontario.
Mm.
And I always was loved being outside, and I went on to university and went on to working and just loved the outdoors. This was all pre-internet kind of timing. And
Different
so there was
times.
no yeah, so I always fancied myself as a hiker, but as far as actually making that a reality, it was kind of tough because I didn't have any apps on my phone about where to go to hike. You're relying on books. And so I eventually, well, I met my husband in Vermont, which is where we lived back in 1984. We got married in 1985. And then in the next year, we hiked in Glacier National Park, we did a backpacking trip, which is in Montana in the United States. And we went over the Canadian border into Canada. And we
Wow.
did a 5-day backpacking trip. And that was great. And I thought, this is something I want to do. But then life gets in the way. We had kids, I had a job, and everything goes on. And I kept thinking, I'd love to hike. Well, but I didn't know at that point, I didn't quite know how to go about it. So in 2003, I had a friend who hiked the entire Long Trail, which is a 270-mile footpath in the state of Vermont. So it goes into the Canadian border from Massachusetts to Canada. And a friend had hiked that, and I was very envious. And for whatever reason, because it wasn't an easy hike, she said to me 2 years later, I'll take you out there. Let's do this. Her name's Susan. And so we went for a week, and I was hooked. And I finished that trail in 3 sections. And after that, in 2007, I said, I want to hike something longer. And in my mind, which is rather silly looking back on it, I said, I want to hike the Appalachian Trail. So I went from 272 miles of the Long Trail to deciding I wanted to hike the Appalachian Trail, which is 2,185 miles long. So that was quite a big gap.
Wow.
I could have settled for 500 or something, but that was my goal. So then
You
it
don't
took a
do
number of
things by halves.
so then that took a number of years to get together because I needed a leave from my job, needed to be the right time with my family, with my spouse, with the kids, with everything.
Mm.
So it was in 2013 when I set foot on the Appalachian Trail, and that was the year that I walked it. So, yeah. So
Wow.
that's kind of how it all came about. Yeah.
And how long did it take to complete that walk?
So I started on March 8th, and most people start in the south and they go north, and it passes through 14 states in the United States. And then this is all on the East Coast. And so you start on a mountain called Springer Mountain in Georgia, and then you end on a mountain called Mount Katahdin way up in Maine, closer to the Canadian border. So I started on March 8th and I ended on July 28th. So I'd been hiking that whole time. Yeah.
Wow.
So 14 states and 2,185 miles.
That is fascinating. I honestly can't imagine what that's like. Can't imagine what that's like.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a great experience. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think I was particularly struck by it because I'm 46. I've probably been in the thick of it for 3 or 4 years, having 2 young kids.
Sure.
And sometimes it seems tough. You don't get a huge amount of time to look after yourself. You feel like you're aging. And I listened to you
Yeah.
talk about something you've achieved, and I was like, wow, it made me feel like, man, there's a lot, anything's possible. Like,
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
so much. Yeah, I found it very
Well,
inspirational.
Well, thank you. I set a goal for myself. That was the other piece of the puzzle. I'm 68 now. So this was 2013, and I was 55 that year. And I had set a goal. Again, I don't know why I picked this out of a hat, but I decided that by the time I was 55, I wanted to at least have hiked part of the Appalachian Trail.
Mm.
And so the stars all aligned. And when I was 55 and I turned 56 on the trail, but that's the year that I hiked. So it all worked out.
Fantastic. And if it's okay, I will drop the link to the interview along with this podcast. So if people want to hear more about the whole story of the walk, because I personally absolutely found it amazing. And have you stopped there, or have you set another goal for 70 or
No,
climb
I don't.
Everest?
No, I have no interest in that. No interest whatsoever. Yeah, rock climbing and mountain climbing. No, thank you very much. My more recent, I've kept hiking since then, but I realized in 2017, I went out and hiked part of a trail called the Colorado Trail, which
Mm.
is in the state of Colorado. It's pretty high up, a lot of elevation. And I realized midway through there, I didn't finish the whole thing. And I realized that I just wasn't that interested in carrying a backpack anymore. So the later things I've done are some wonderful trails in Europe and, two trails in England that I've done, and another one just this past spring in Portugal, where I call them luxury hiking or diva hiking because you're still walking every day, but you're not carrying a backpack, and
Yeah.
you leave a bag in the bed and breakfast in the morning and it magically gets transported to your next place that night. So it's
Wow.
all the best bits of walking without needing to carry food and all the water and setting up tent every night and camp, and you can get a hot shower and a good meal. So that's what I enjoy doing these days is more of that. Yeah.
God, I didn't even
Yeah.
think about that. I mean, forget about the physical
No,
element. There are serious decisions to make, but I love the way you call it diva
absolutely.
hiking because that still for me is
Yeah.
probably hard work, and you call it
Yeah.
diva hiking.
It is. It's totally luxury or diva hiking. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And listen, I'm sure we will come back to this story because your song choice that we will get to is, in my mind, probably intrinsically linked to these sort of experiences that you've had in life. But digging into music itself, I mean, you've talked about your the ukuleles and things like that. But taking it back, do you remember when music first became part of your life, or you first heard a song where you kind of fell in love with music?
Yeah. Yep. I think music's always been a part of my life. My father grew up in New York City and he was big into Broadway show tunes. They were
Wow.
always, Broadway music was always blaring on the record player as a youth. And then my mother played the piano, she played flute, she sang. We were very active in our church, so there were church choirs along the way. I went to university and I fell in with a group of people who just love playing guitar and singing, lots of Gordon Lightfoot, lots of Jim Croce, kind of that genre. This is the 70s, mid to late 70s. And also, I learned that I loved bluegrass music. That was another
Mhm.
genre that kind of popped up. And then we lived many years. I sang in high school. It's been all the way along. I sang with a women's group in Vermont where we lived for over 30 years. And then moving to Arizona, we have our Bisbee Community Chorus and the ukuleles. So there have been plenty of opportunities to have music. And I
Yeah.
used to play the piano. I don't have a piano now, but I used to play the piano as well. So I just
Fantastic.
can't remember a time when I didn't have music. I really can't think of any a time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a fascinating range
Yep.
of influences you've got there from
Yeah.
Broadway tunes to bluegrass. That
Yeah.
really throws it open.
And well, lately I've discovered country. My husband's been into it for a while and I resisted and I said, "You got to be kidding. I'm not listening to country music." But I've really grown to love a lot of country music songs. So
Yeah.
something different. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I'm kind of the same. I'm not in yet, but I think there's once you get past, I kind of have a thing in my mind that, oh, it's country music. But once I've found this sometimes once I get past that, I'm like, this is some it's some great storytelling, like some great
It's great
storytelling, some
lyrics. Yeah.
yeah, and some great music as
Yeah.
well. But that's evolving as well so much. There's some. I was listening recently to some real modern kind of pop versions of country, and you can still hear the country in there, but it's like the sort
Oh,
of stuff
yeah.
you'd hear on
Oh,
the
yeah.
radio as well.
Yeah.
Do you listen to
Yeah.
much new music?
Not as much as I used to. I worked for many years as a high school counselor, and I chaperoned a lot of high school dances. So during that time period, I felt like I listened to a lot more current music than I currently do. I've listened to some, but yeah, not enough. I've been thinking about that recently. I should get back in and listen to more.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And what role does music play in your life right now? Is it something, is it still around you every day listening to it, or is it a slightly different relationship you have with it nowadays?
No, I'd say it's right around. We stream music all the time, and I've got a lot of playlists that I've developed that are favorite playlists, and I'll put them on when I was on my walk this morning. Well, I was listening to your podcast actually, but I will listen to music a lot of the time when I'm walking. So
Yeah.
and for me, it's all about the lyrics. It's not as much about the music as it is about the lyrics, and I just love listening to music. So no, it's
Interesting.
still a pretty important part. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I'm kind of polar opposite. It keeps seem to come up on this podcast all the time that I can I still don't know the lyrics to songs I've been listening to for 30 odd years. I just sing the sounds, but it still feels so powerful to me. And then I'll find out the lyrics. I'm
That's
like, oh
interesting.
right, okay, that's even more powerful now. But just never
Yeah,
I was never curious to find out exactly what they were saying. I get the sort of the
yeah,
gist of it. Never really,
yeah.
yeah. But that's cool. It's
Yeah,
interesting
see,
how, yeah,
yeah, I have a very clear memory back in high school, and of course, we had records back then, so there was no streaming. And so I remember very clearly the first album I ever bought was Carole King's Tapestry album.
oh,
And still to this
classic.
day, a classic, all these years later, I know every single word to every single song on that. And I
Yeah,
just wish I could remember some other things sometimes, and instead I remember music lyrics, and it's just very interesting how our brains work. I
it
can't keep
really is.
history facts straight, but I can remember all these lyrics to songs.
Yeah, I kind of miss one of the things. I mean, there's many things I miss about the more physical media, vinyl, and even CDs.
Yeah,
Was that you on a lot of albums you used to get the whole lyrics printed out, so you could kind of listen and read them at the
that's
same
right.
time.
That's right.
Like the ones that I read whilst listening stuck, but when I just listen, I'm probably off somewhere else, not really
Right,
concentrating. But
right. It's the
yeah,
music. Yeah,
it's
yeah,
the music. Yeah.
yeah. Interesting.
Right. Listen, it's probably a good time to actually get into your song choice. But
Hmm.
before we do, I think a quick heads up for anyone tuning in for the first time. This isn't a deep dive into music theory or production hacks. This show is about the stories behind songs and the ways they become part of who we are. If you haven't heard the track Deb's about to talk about, we're about to explore, please take a second to pause, give it a listen, and then come back. And I think you'll feel the conversation just hits a little deeper once the song's in your head. So, Deb, what is the song that you've chosen to bring with you today?
The song I've chosen is Unwritten by Natasha Bedingfield.
Yeah, great song. I know it very well.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
listened to it before as well. It's been a while since I listened, but yeah, instantly I was like, this sounds like a great choice. And I always like to explore the choice. Like, was it an easy choice when I contacted you, or was it something you had to think quite a bit about?
It was a really easy choice because this song has just resonated ever since. I'll go back to it, but ever since I hiked the Appalachian Trail in 2013,
Mm.
this song has just been a very, very powerful one to me. And for years, after my hike, I couldn't listen to it without getting teary. I think I'm
Wow.
finally over that, so I hope I won't break down in tears today. So this was the number one. It's called the Chico Gospel, and it's by a duo. Maybe you've heard of them. They're based in California, called Mamuse, Mamuse, and
No.
it's this particular song is all about challenges, and it's a good one too. So that's worth a listen for sure. If you've never heard them, they're
Okay.
wonderful.
I will
Yeah.
listen and I
Yeah.
will drop that in as well. And definitely a kind of
Yeah.
a theme going in your song choices there.
Yeah,
So
for
in
sure.
terms of the song you brought today, Unwritten by Natasha Bedingfield, can you take us back? Do you even remember when it first came into your life at all?
I don't remember. Well, I remember when it came into my life as important. I don't. So backing up, in 2013, when I made plans and started hiking the Appalachian Trail, I if you look at setting a goal of 2,185 miles, that's just huge. And
Yeah.
so I broke it down into states. So I told everybody my goal was to make it out of the state of Georgia, and North Carolina is the next one. And it's a little under 80 miles to do that. And so I had an iPod at the time. There was no AirPods and streaming and all of that. This is 2013, not too long ago. But nonetheless, I had an iPod and with my headset. And I did not I had put Unwritten on there. So obviously that song was something that I'd liked, and I'd heard it and liked it. But what happened the day that it really became the soundtrack that I wanted, or the song that I wanted to mention, is I crossed the border from Georgia into North Carolina. And I just went back and listened. I kept a trail journal that was an online journal of my whole experience. And my dear spouse, John, very nicely scraped it all off of electronically and put it into a hard copy. But I had to go back, and I just want to share this. I crossed into Georgia on March 16th. And every day in my trail journal, I would write a highlight about what the highlight of the day was. And I specifically wrote in here, today's highlight was walking in the sunshine and listening to my iPod for the first time since I've been on the trail. And the song Unwritten by Natasha Bedingfield came on, and it was a transcendent moment. And so that's what I wrote that day that it came out. And it just hit me. I was walking by myself, and I was just feeling very good about the fact that I was working toward my goal, and I'd made it out of one state and into the next one. So
Yeah.
that's when that song really hit me. Yeah.
Wow.
It was as though
Okay.
I don't like to use coincidence. It was more as though it was just meant to be at that time and that place.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. So that's
yeah.
the scene you think of when you think, maybe not the first listen,
Yeah.
but the most memorable moment was that listen there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
For sure.
what do you think stirred all that up when you listened to that song at that moment? What was happening for you?
Well, for anybody who listens to the song, it starts out by saying, I got the lyrics down here just so I wanted to refer to them. But the first words are, I am unwritten. You can't read
Mm,
my mind. I'm undefined. I'm just beginning. The pen's in my hand, ending unplanned. And it just hit me that this was early on in my hike, but I had started with a group of women. Most of them got off the trail real quickly. And I carried on with another woman, and she and I hiked for a bit. And then her knees were bothering her. She got off the trail as well. And that was the
mm,
first day that I really kind of hiked. I just kind of pulled myself together. I had a little talk with myself about, okay, you're on your own, you can do this. And to hear that, it's like, yeah, our lives are unwritten and the ending's unplanned. Who knows what's going to happen? But there I was accomplishing the first part of a bigger goal, a very small goal, but a part of it. So it was a great moment.
beautiful. And yeah, as I said, I will drop the link to your interview, but it's a beautiful story, and not just because it's about hiking, but there are plenty of twists and turns. I felt it was pure hero's journey. There was so many challenges you had to face, and there was a time when it felt like you were about to give up, and then you found something and you
Yeah.
pushed through. I was listening to it in the car. I honestly felt like cheering at the end. It was it was great. And you said, you had this amazing moment with this song, and I think we can um, later, obviously, or when the time's right, we can dig into some of those lyrics and themes, just to explain what sort of resonates with you so much for people who may not be so familiar. But you listened to this relatively early on in your in
Hmm.
the hike. How did you kind of interact with it from then on? Was it did it come on every time you needed a bit of energy, or did you listen to it daily, or how did that work?
No, I didn't listen to it daily, and I just had songs on shuffle. And whenever I would hear the opening notes for that song, I would prepare myself because I knew I would get kind of teary and weepy. So I would
Yeah,
say, okay, do I want to listen to this and put myself through it? And I did. So it came on fairly frequently. I don't remember how many songs I had on my iPod, but no, I didn't play it every day to like get myself excited for the day or anything. But
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it came on quite a bit. Yeah, yeah.
Good, good. I mean, 2,000 miles.
And
You need a lot of songs for 2,000 miles.
different different music for different times. There were some, and if I was in a kind of down mood and I really wanted to pick myself up and had a lot of elevation gain ahead and I didn't feel like doing it, I would put on a playlist by Kelly Clarkson.
Mm.
Or there was another one too I'm gonna think of, but a few, there was some music that would just fit my mood at the time, and I could put that on and it would get me going again. So that was
Yeah, yeah,
great.
yeah. And I
Yeah.
love the way you framed it. I can't remember your exact words, but you were essentially implying that it wasn't coincidence that that song came on at that time. And I not only
I don't think it
firmly,
was, yeah.
yeah, I firmly believe that, but it's a theme that keeps coming up with guests in this podcast, that there are certain songs that will find them at certain times. There's certain times where the guests will go and find a song for a certain reason, but there are certain songs where times where a song will find them when they need it most. And it's
Right.
probably way above my intellect to figure out what is going on in the universe, but something somewhere was like, Deb needs to hear this right now.
That's right. That's right. No, I totally agree with you, Shub. Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Songs have a way of finding us. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so you've had this amazing moment with it there. You've talked before, sorry, just previously, about how it's been a while, or it's basically carried this memory for you for so long that you haven't listened to it too much. But when you look back on those moments, has your relationship with the song changed, or has the meaning got deeper for you, or does it stay quite simple as how you remember it in that moment?
Right. I think it stays fairly simple because I came to the realization a while ago that no matter how old we are, whether we're 3 years old like your child, or if we're 68 years old like me, nobody knows what's going to happen, and the ending's
Mm,
unplanned, and we have some charge of we can be in control of what's happening and what the next steps are. And so it's remained a powerful song for me. Yeah, at any point in life, I think it's very, very relevant, and I think it resonates very well.
yeah, absolutely. And I think as soon as this song choice came through, it was quite clear what the link was. But then, and it'd been a while since I listened to it, when I started listening to it again and just listening a bit closer, there were all those themes you talked about. It was, that life isn't fixed, your future isn't decided, change is
Right,
totally possible. And I think
right,
they are all the feelings that I got when I listened to your interview. I was like, man, sometimes you can think, I'm getting a bit older and I'm tired and that's just the way it's going to be. And then you listen to a story like yours and you actually think, wow, there's actually, if you really want something and you're willing to go and get it, then anything is possible. And there's a lot of themes of freedom in there as well, which felt like not only the freedom of trying new things, but I guess where you were at that
hmm
time. I mean, you're in the most beautiful mountain ranges. You're fairly free, apart from a very heavy rucksack, probably.
right. Yeah, that's true. That's very true. And really writing your own, it's just a chance to be somebody new. You're out of your community and you're out of the people who you're usually with, and a chance to just step out and do something new. And in thinking about more about the song, I realized that when we moved here 5 years ago, this was a very unplanned move. And we moved from the state of Vermont. We were within 1.5 hours of the Canadian border, so way up
Mm,
one part of the United States. And we found this wonderful town, which for us has been a magical place to live. And we are 10 miles from the Mexico border. So we moved a long ways, and we never thought we would leave the state of Vermont and move to Arizona. And I got thinking about it and I thought, well, this song applies to that as well. Anytime you step out, it doesn't have to be a big goal, it could be a small goal, but anytime you step out of doing something, changing a job, whatever, you're really, everything's unwritten. I mean, from there forward, you don't know how the ending's going to come out. So,
Yeah.
but it's great to take these steps and make these changes.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think the walking thing is just a beautiful metaphor all over, just one foot in front of the other, one step at a time,
Yep.
and move
Yep.
towards that goal, and you can achieve some amazing things. Um, Question: if someone else was to do a cover version of this song, who would you want it to be and why?
That's interesting. I hadn't really thought of that one. I did a very, not a deep dive, a very shallow dive a couple of days ago into Natasha Bedingfield and who she wrote the song for.
Yeah.
And I also wanted to see if there were any other versions of it that I really liked. And she did an acoustic version, which I hadn't heard, and that was beautiful. And I also read that she wrote the song for her 14-year-old brother to tell him as he was entering high school uh, that his future was unwritten, and that he had a lot of choices ahead of him, which I thought was beautiful. But I think I just love some of I love Ingrid Michaelson's voice. I would love to hear her do it. I
Okay.
some of those other female singers, I think acoustically it would be really, really pretty to hear them. A
Okay.
Nora Jones voice, I don't know.
Oh,
Yeah. Some other
yeah.
some other people.
Okay.
Yeah.
And would the ukuleles ever take this one on?
No, I don't think so.
That was a very stern no. Okay.
I don't think so. We're doing more older sing-along type songs. So yeah, it's not quite the right genre.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Deb, we are starting to come towards the end of our conversation now, but before we close, looking back on what we shared, the song, the story, the memories, is there anything that stands out most for you now about this song or anything new that's come to light at all?
Interesting question. No, again, I don't really think so. It's just for me, it became as I hiked on the trail, it became less about the physical challenges because once you're out there for 3 or 4 weeks, you prove that your body can handle it physically. There's a lot
Mm,
there to get used to at the beginning. And then it all becomes a mental game as to whether you really want to make it happen. And there's also a certain amount of luck in there because you could twist an ankle, you could break an arm, you could have an unexpected family emergency at home that would have to pull you right off of the trail. But it became for me much more of an empowering experience about goal setting. And here I am out here, as a 55, 56-year-old woman hiking this trail. And it was a dream and I achieved my dream. And that's very, very powerful. And so I
yeah.
think the song just still speaks to me in that light, and it doesn't have to be big goals. It doesn't have to be 2,000 miles or anything like that, but just to think about the fact that we're not all destined to be in exactly what we're doing right now. There's all kinds of things out there to explore and to do. And Natasha Bedingfield says, live your life with arms wide open. And I just think that's so lovely to think about that, really embracing what comes your way and stepping out there and trying something different and trying new. So I think that's about it right there. Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful message. And the future is unwritten, but is there anything next on the cards for you?
We're getting ready for a big trip. We're leaving at the end of this month for a month away. We're going to New Zealand and Australia. So that's what my head's wrapping
Wow.
around right now is planning for that trip because we feel very grateful we're able to travel and we want to be able to travel some more. We have a camper van and we had a big 2-month trip across the country last year in our van. So we just feel my husband and I feel very grateful and thankful that we're at this time of our lives right now where we're able to do these things and explore. So, yeah, I don't have any big hiking goals right now, nothing like that. And that's okay. So,
That's okay too. Absolutely. Well,
it is
enjoy your
okay.
trip.
Absolutely.
It sounds like a fantastic
Thank you.
trip. And thank you for bringing this song and your story and for bringing yourself so openly. It's been really cool to
Thank
share
you.
this time with you. And yeah, before we
Good.
close, as I said, I will share multiple links to the interview, but where can people find you? Is it Facebook is the best place if they're interested in connecting?
Yeah, sure. Yep, I'm on Facebook.
Fantastic.
Facebook or Instagram. Yeah.
Perfect. Deb, thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure.
It's our time. It's our time. It's our time.